Good evening and welcome to another Joe. Let me start over. Good evening and welcome to not just another GI Joe show. I am Mike, your host, and tonight we will be talking about some silly club stuff. But as always, I'd like to welcome back my bearded compadre, Fred. Fred, tell people where they can find you at.
Hey guys, this is Fred from Joe Battle Lines, and as pretty much the name says it, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, maybe Google Plus if anyone cares, and also over at joebattlelines.com. So glad to be back. Missed a week last week due to some family commitments. So yeah, we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about given the bevy of Joecon previews that dropped in the last 2 weeks, as well as the surrounding Bat Storm.
Yeah, we've got.
And yeah, so well, this ought to be. I'm waiting for Mike to drop me a link here real quick, and then we should be good to go for PR.
I'm so working on it right now. We don't know what the deal is with YouTube. Usually, when we get these ready to go, they show a thumbnail and everything ready to, like we're getting ready to, drop it and everything, and you can do that up to like an hour or so beforehand. But for some reason tonight, it would not let us do that. And give me a second as I'm trying to send this to Fred. And we're going to be, a couple other guys are going to join us. They're running a few minutes behind.
Well, in the interim, I'll babble a little bit while Mike's working on that. So if you guys have been at all following any G.I. Joe news the last week, you know that the club has opened up registration for Joecon 2017.
If you guys have been at all following any G.I. Joe news the last...
That's okay. You can mute me. It's all good.
It's on the phone.
And so we've had registration has opened up. We've also had previews of Battle Force 2000. All 6 members have now dropped, as well as the other 2 figures. Notice how I phrased that. In the box set this year, the Bat Squad Leader and the Bat version 1.8, I believe it is. So, be honest, reaction to the set has been interesting. This year, for the Battle Force 2000 characters, the club did a fair amount of new tooling on the heads, so that was very welcome. They went through and we got new heads for, oh good lord, Blaster, Blocker. We don't know what's under Maverick. Probably not. Dodger got a new head. Avalanche got a new head, and then the Bat got a new head. New heads in Joecon sets always a good thing. That's one of the best parts about the classic The Real American Hero line, is that there weren't a lot of head reuses. Every character had a unique personality. The kind of head scratcher, at least for me, especially on the Battle Force 2000 side, was that the club elected to also do new tools for Battle Force 2000's weapons. And what's interesting there is that the club sculpts, and we've only seen the Facebook mock-ups, so it's hard to tell just if there's going to be any changes. They seem to be exact recreations of the vintage tooling, down to the fact that, like, for example, Maverick's automatic pistol, if you remember the vintage, it didn't have a lot of hard edges to it. The sculpt seemed very soft. And oddly enough, so does the club's version. A lot of fans were kind of wondering, why retool the weapons? These guys were vehicle drivers. Granted, they were sold in 2 packs originally. Battle Force 2000 was sold separately from its weapons. But why take the time and the effort to retool the weapons and not the helmets? For example, Knockdown's helmet is a reuse. It's a parts reuse from Lift Ticket, which came with the G.I. Joe Retaliation Eaglehawk. And so that's kind of throwing people off a little bit with this.
Did you get the link? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, hang on one second. We got somebody else. Dakota's trying to join in, too.
Hey,
There he is.
But yeah, so that's kind of what we're dealing with this year's concept, is that it's kind of different. We're getting we're getting some odd tooling choices. So I'll let Mike talk for a minute. I'm just going to drop off and repost the link a couple places, and then I'll be back to ramble some more.
Yeah. All right. Well, since you're going to do that, we're going to go ahead. As y'all know, I've been, telling people, the past couple of shows that we're going to do it's called a collection, kind of like a collection spotlight is what we're calling it. Basically, we want y'all to send us in pictures of your collection and your custom figures. If you have any custom figures, or if you're a customizer, send us pictures of your customizing, Joes and Cobras and everything. So I will actually go to a screen share to where we can see what we have tonight.
Something's beeping.
Like,
ooh, pizza's done.
Can y'all see that now?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Oh, nice. The DTOF lifestyle. Like it.
Yeah, this is from his tank member, Ozzy92. There were some other pictures of his I've seen. I'm kind of wondering if he's the same guy that did a diorama at Joecon last year. I think he was, and it looked really, really sick, man. But yeah, these are we got 16 pictures of his. These are all his here. Let's see what we got next. Looks like he has some.
Whoa.
I guess that is what there, Fred. Those.
Okay, those appear to be the card art posters from our good friends at 3D Joe's. If you've seen any of the fundraising efforts over at 3djoes.com, Carson has to pay for that software that allows him to have those 3D spin effects. And so what he's done is part of his artwork restoration. He has basically gone and restored and refreshed the colors and made these posters of the classic card art. So you can see the Falcon, listen to me. The flag is on that little corner section of the wall over there. And then the two right in the foreground, those are the more recent vintage card art posters. In fact, I'm seeing and lusting right now over Tomax and Zaymot in the frame to the right in the upper left-hand corner.
That's nice. Those are nice.
Well, you got some serious good eyes.
Seriously, yeah. I'm just like,
I like top right corner. I'm trying to look. Where is
it's because as a kid, I saved the packaging for Tomax and Zaymot because the front of it had those awesome beveled mirrors, with the figures. But when you flipped it over, you had the artwork, and it was unusual at that point for the back of the card to feature so much art. And here was this big painting of one of the brothers looking in the mirror and the other one looking back at him with the scar. And it was just like, it's awesome. Awesome stuff. That artwork sold so much stuff as a kid.
Got some more here. He's got a lot of different display cases full of stuff.
Yeah, no, like awesome, like office setup he's got going.
And I believe, yeah, these are all those some O-rings there on the bottom, I believe.
There's so many beautiful O-rings in there. Oh, look at all of them. You can tell what era I cut my teeth on. Yeah, I see. Yeah, you see Zartan and you see Zorana in there.
Yeah.
The thing I like about this is he's got everything. He has the kind of display that I wish I had, which is where the things are in a case out of the dust. Because my figures are all on shelves, and then once a month I have to get the compressed air out and do the walk down and blow air off, blow dust off of them, and then we've got cats, so they only contribute to it. But I'm going to give him mad props. This is a very nicely, well-organized collection. Yeah, good job, buddy.
You can see in this
I can't
picture.
wait till I get my handful just in a DTOF. That's it's on the agenda.
He has a ribbon there, a blue ribbon. I wonder if he won one of the.
That's a custom. Oh yeah, you know what that is? That pink figure is Dana from Sunbow. I'm willing to bet. I believe she was a custom at one of the Joecons a number of years ago. Because one of the things whenever I go to Joecon, and I see John's on too. Whenever one of my favorite parts of Joecon, and every year when I cover it for JBL that I attend, is I love to shoot the custom showcases. To me, like, that is the heart and soul of the fandom at Joecon, is all the work that people do to build these amazing, unique figures. So
that's the main reason why I go personally.
Of course you do.
How's everybody doing?
Sorry, I'm running
behind. Pretty good, man.
Sorry, I'm running behind.
It's all right. Here's some more here. Got a USS flag head up there. A can of Cam.
Oh, nice. Is that the Sergeant Slaughter?
Yes.
Nice.
Blue Tea Slaughter. That's the Sunbow one, isn't it?
No, that's the Slaughter's Marauders with the baby blue tank top and the really interesting camo choice.
Do not mock.
I like them, but man, that blue is just odd.
There's that custom Sergeant Slaughter that I'm waiting for eBay to deliver to me.
That particular subset, when it was new, I was in northeastern Oklahoma, and I recall looking at it on the shelves at Walmart and going, you know what? I'm not buying those repaints. So
now this picture here, I think I've seen that barbecue at the Joecon.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I remember which, I don't know if it was this past one or 2015, but I've seen that barbecue one.
Yeah. And there's that Slaughter everybody loves to build using the rock block figure. I mean, it's an interesting figure, but the Sarge never looked like that.
Oh no, man. See, I think it fits him perfect. You know, for me being someone who doesn't know a whole lot about Joe.
It fits Sunbow Sarge, but real world Sarge never was that ripped.
No, never.
And John's right, because a couple of years ago when he was making the circuit, I got to see him even just a few years ago, and he's a big guy, but he is not like Arnold physique, you know.
No, never, not even in his heyday in the late '80s when he was still wrestling as a heel, was he ever that cut. Now I didn't watch the cartoon much because I was always at football practice and stuff in high school and junior high when the cartoon was on the air. So for me, it seems like an aberration. I know certain people want to see it like that, but that custom, even though that particular one that we just saw was really well done, has been done to death.
He's not wrong.
I've sold so many copies of that Build and Brawl head. It's just at least 150, at least. Which for custom cast parts, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's a good looking October Guard set. I like the paint job on the vehicle.
I really wish that actually we could have got a larger vehicle like that to go with the October Guard, because we got the Indiana Jones truck.
Yeah.
Which,
well, it was okay. The Indiana Jones truck was okay. For the price they charged, I would have rather them not taken out the mechanism.
Yeah.
That seems like it would have made a little more sense in terms of bang for the buck value. But again, we've talked about this before privately, Fred. What makes sense to the club at the time isn't always what appears to be the smarter decision. Because of how they're hamstrung, sometimes.
They're limited on what they have access to, and
let me give you an example. One of the figures this year, one of the builds, I'm not going to say which, but they had to resort to their third choice for the head. So
really,
that's the kind of thing that happens. They have a better build in mind, and then they can't get access to the parts or what have you. So that's the way that goes.
Yeah, holy ninjas.
There's a few ninjas there. Yeah. Well, I like that you use that backdrop from the Valor versus Venom era.
John, you know me. I'm a Valor versus Venom guy, and I still love that Ninja Battle set to me, or Ninja Battles. That was a great.
Yeah, I've got one that I got from China ahead of time. that's loose. That was the first one I opened. Then I've got the regular retail release, and then I got the re-release from ROC when they put two new figures with it and retooled the foot pegs. So yeah, I know what you mean. I like it.
And even with those breakaway posts, the way they were cut, that thing stays together remarkably well.
Yeah, if it becomes a problem for you, you can always put a little hot glue on the inside and it doesn't damage anything. Hey Fred, who's your skinny pal sitting behind you there?
I wonder if anybody would notice that. I'm at work, and that's our random prop we bought for the office. We consider that our intern.
I think he's slacking a little. You might not get the full credit out of this job.
My office mate disappeared for a week on vacation. When he came back, that had been sitting in his desk the entire time. So
did y'all tell him that we didn't even notice you were gone?
I'm like, Austin, you were not here? No one noticed, and it was right before his review, so that was always good. But so I have to ask, I'm going to pose this. I know John, I know you're going, and I know Mike, you're going.
Yeah.
What are you guys? What do you guys think the reaction's been to this year's Joecon set so far?
Words I can't say on air.
Well, no.
Yeah, there's a lot of a matter of fact, one of the guys off of his Range Viper 88, his exact words were, "Do not go easy on the club like you have before in the past."
See, this set is interesting for me because going all the way back to Indianapolis, on every year I've attended on my survey, I've written Battle Force 2000.
Yeah.
And
you and a lot of people.
Well, and I'll tell you, one of the reasons why is back then they were still doing a lot of work with the Boss Fight Studio guys. Mm-hmm. And Boss Fight Studios, those guys were, they were kind of the driving force behind the Pursuit of Cobra era.
Yeah.
And,
the Boss Fight guys, when they were at Hasbro, did everything from the middle of 25th pretty much forward from that. Various members of the group, came in later, that kind of thing. But one of the things I think Andrew was involved with it was the Dollar General figures. I thought those were amazing for the price point, given the builds and the creativity. I mean, they managed to get to Ginzu in there. They had to call him Storm Shadow, but still, it's Ginzu. Oh, what the hell, man?
But yeah, to come back to it, I've been wanting Battle Force 2000 for so long, and I thought, man, if anybody that the club was working with that we knew of, because we don't know everybody that helps contribute to the parts build, but we knew that they were working. I thought, man, their aesthetic was going to be really awesome for Battle Force. And this year's set, I think what's interesting is I don't hear the people who were disappointed with it, I don't hear them being disappointed with the Battle Force side as much. Well, okay, a little bit on Dodger because you don't have the pronounced microphone.
Yeah.
And Dodger's probably the weakest of the BF2K guys in build as far as reaction.
Let me give you some feedback on the set. So first thing I want to say is kudos to the club. The first figure they showed was Maverick.
Yeah.
And Maverick's built out of a figure parts from like 6 or 7 different figures, and for the club, that's a tremendous amount on a bash. Usually it's 3 and out.
Yeah.
So for them to do that, and the same thing on some of the other figures. There are more than 3 figures built in on the bash. So, good job on that, and that's definitely a step in the right direction. I love it. Very happy about it personally, but this is my same criticism of the club that I've had for a while, and I know that they're aware of it, and I understand the reasons that they do it is they try to stay too close to the ARAH aesthetic, and that's
agreed
that's to please the biggest cross section of their fans. And I understand why they make that decision, but I would like to see personally just a little more originality in the builds and stuff, and don't be afraid to step away from something that was a little cliche even in '87. Personally, I think the worst Battle Force figure in build wise is probably Knockdown.
Really? Oh, did we lose John?
Yeah. See, that's one that I wasn't really too fond of. Just kind of looking at it from the outsider's perspective. Like I like I like teams in everything that I collect. I'm a team builder. I like to make teams. So I'm pretty much cool with all the Battle Force 2000 guys. It's for the set. It's the bats that kills it for me, man. It's too many. To me, that'd be too many bats. Some people may dig it, and that's cool. But yeah.
I think what's hurting them with the bats, and that the bats really are kind of the elephant in the room with this set this year. It's not just that you're getting 8 in it, 8 of the troop builder and then the squad leader. It's the fact that there's not a lot of differentiation really between them. And this is a case where I think the club could have taken a risk a little more. And okay, if you're going to have, the squad leader very similar to the troops in terms of build, this is where you really kind of go a little nuts with the deco, maybe. Maybe the squad leader, replace the orange with a red for him. And then maybe, or maybe instead of doing 8 just to the straight, was it BAT version 1.8? Maybe you would do 4 and 4, and you would alter their gear a little bit. Maybe you might, kind of like they did with the Jungle Bat years ago.
Maybe you would do 4
we got an echo.
And
yeah, sorry.
You would alter.
John's dropped out for a second. He's going to be right back in as soon as he can. So,
okay.
But I think that really is where the fan frustration is coming from. Is James Kavanaugh had put together, taking all the club's previews, and he photoshopped in this big montage image, of all of them together, and it's like half of your screen really looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
I know there's
thematically, does that all fit thematically, or could there have been something else thrown in there?
It's funny because and I know they've done this particular head for the Iron Anvils, and they did it again recently in FSS for the Battle Core Viper. And again, I'm just projecting my own fanboy wishes. I would have gone nuts if this set had included 4 slightly recolored Battle Core Vipers, because I'll tell you, that was a figure I was not looking forward to in the FSS. I had no interest in. And then I got it in hand. And yeah, it's a Jungle Viper with Retaliation Cobra Trooper arms and the new head. But that build works so amazingly well. And since they're supposed to be the more like armored up, almost more futuristic looking Vipers, would have been a perfect time to have futuristic Vipers and bats versus Battle Force 2000. I think the club, it would have been an unexpected direction. And I know some fans would have said, well, you just released these in the FSS, that's double dipping, blah, blah. But the last couple of years, when you look at the Cobra side of the Joecon sets, we've had, like your leader at the top, like Sky Creeper last year. Then you had 2 squad leaders under him, each with 3 troops. Mm-hmm. So your Cobra had a nice variety.
There was some breakup there for sure.
Oh, okay. But you had this like mixture, and the same thing with, Mike's gonna hate me for saying this, but with the god awful Tiger Force set, and I'm only saying that because I'm not a Tiger Force fan. The set itself is really good with the variety of characters in it, and the IG side. I mean, killer paint jobs. Going back to the Zombie Initiative set, which is kind of polarizing with some fans. Love me some Zombie Initiative, and I'm in the minority, I know. But again, the Cobra side had a lot of nice. It was broken up a bit more. The Lab Rats, the Toxo Vipers, the Toxo Zombies, which were different enough, and then Repulsor. And I think this year the club just has this imbalance where the Joe side is diverse to 6 characters, and the Cobra side is 8 parts reuses. It's really the same figure 9 times, one with a different paint job.
Now,
but we're charging you more for it.
Now I know a lot of there was the whole don't go easy on the club thing, but they did only have a couple of months to throw this together too. You think that kind of plays a part? as to why, it's 9 bats and then the Battle Force 2000 guys. Like,
Well,
just wasn't enough time to throw anything else together.
Here's my devil's advocate on that, though, is the club, the GI Joe license, they knew they lost it, and so they thought last year, man, that was it, that was the swan song, we're going off in a blaze of glory. And according to the panel, it was just right before Joecon that they worked out the deal with Daryl to get the extension.
2 weeks before Joecon. Yeah.
However, in any business, you should be forward thinking. And so I like to think that they've already got, you shouldn't just be like, well, Joecon's in 10 months. We got to put a set together. You should be thinking at least a set or two ahead. And so, yes, they lost it, but they should have had some ideas going forward.
Right. But, I mean, they also, just basing off of, the Transformers side, they knew a pretty good time in advance, like, hey, 16, that's it, you're done, and they had some stuff planned for 17 on the Transformers side, and I can only assume that maybe, some of the Battle Force 2000 was planned, but it feels like it's, you're crunched on time, so this is what we can do, to me at least.
Well, here's the deal on that was that, Joe, at a BotCon this past year, when I talked to Carl, for people who don't know Carl, he was one of the original founders of 3H for Transformers before BotCon took over. And he had stated that they already had a set plan for 2017 and was working on 2018 set for BotCon. So they have to work so far in advance. Now, my understanding was that when we found out they were losing the license, they had found out just a couple of months in advance, I think, was my understanding. So I truly feel like this set was already in the works.
Oh, yeah.
That it was already in the works. They knew they were doing Battle Force. Now maybe not the part selection was chosen. I think this here was planned out from the get-go. I just think, as a lot of people think, that we're going to get the most desired figures that we do want in the 2-3-pack or vehicle sets at the convention.
See, and that's where I think the club is, I think the club shoots themselves in the foot more often than not. And I think this is one of the ways they're doing it. There's a precedent for exactly what Mike's saying. I mean, look at last year's convention set. So you have the Glider 2-pack with Skymate and, oh boy, Cloudburst. You can tell I just don't care about the late 90s stuff. Anyway, that 2-pack had 2 brand new head sculpts in it.
Yes.
As souvenir figures. And, okay, so you have to stop and think. In the grand scheme of things, the club has a finite amount of production budget for each set. And that goes to, existing, that includes creating existing tooling and then production of, parts through existing molds. They can only do so many new tools per set and keep the profit margin that I'm suspicious that they're enjoying. So, what? Anyway, last year, 2 new head sculpts, 2 unique head sculpts were saved for souvenir items that were only available at the convention. Now, last year's convention set had enough variety that it still hooked people in. People are hooked to go to the Joecon by 2 things, the location and the set itself. So if they're holding back the bulk of their production dollars and not putting it into the box set, they're holding it for the souvenirs, they're shooting themselves in the foot because, let's face it, the reaction to this box set has not been all that hot. And I think attendance is already low because, how can I say that? Because golden tickets are still available.
That's what I was fixing to say.
I logged in this morning, and the club's got to be like, oh, look, he's going to Joecon again. No, he's not. The golden tickets haven't sold out. So they've already, that used to sell out in like minutes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, and it was the same for the Transformer side.
And the golden ticket is nothing more than a cash grab. I mean, quite honestly.
Right.
Now, I'll be honest, the golden ticket, Dakota, on Joe would sell out 10 times faster than BotCon ever would, because people knew what they were getting on. They were going to get the trip to 3 times the amount. And the golden ticket on the Joe side started out originally very low numbers. And as we've noticed over the past couple of years, they upped up the numbers of these. To my understanding, Duffman had told me that I believe there was like 22 of the Generals package golden tickets still available.
Whoa.
Which is the 12-inch set.
That's the 12-inch, yeah.
Which they went with 30. So they had 130 golden tickets across the board, and they have 25 total left.
And you know what's interesting is I know in years past I've had friends who are 1/18 guys who have had to buy 12-inch golden tickets because all the 1/18 ones had already sold out.
Oh, wow.
That was the nature of the beast, as you know, and it's just, and look, golden tickets, people buy them for a variety of reasons. One, they got a lot of friends back home that they're trying to hook up. Two, they're trying to subsidize the cost of their trip to a convention that is not what I would consider an affordable convention.
Oh, without a doubt.
Joecon is not. It never has been, but it's gotten worse. Or three, these are guys that are just, maybe they're a dealer. They've got a store, they've got something, and this is the way to pick up extra inventory for afterwards. But, golden ticket was such a hot item by, people trying to do this. And I don't know if it's because the prices on last year's set have cooled. I talked to Mike just before we went live. Recently, I picked up a 3-pack of helicopters, Hella Vipers on eBay. I got them shipped for less than what they sold for at the con.
Yeah,
and I did the same thing with the. Oh boy, I'm bad with names.
And that's pretty unheard of for the Joecon stuff. Like I know, that stuff as soon as it's gone, it's like, it kind of starts to skyrocket.
Yeah,
like just noticing that in my casual collecting of Joe.
The big problem is you'll drive sales upward depending on the set. Take Tiger Force, personally one of my favorite sets.
Oh yeah, I think it looks pretty.
Well, I guess I'm in the minority. Look, it's the Kitty Cat Patrol.
But check it out. There's the 3-pack and the helicopter. It skyrocketed through the roof, and it still brings a hefty penny as of late. Now, Sky Patrol, no, not as popular as sets prior. This set here, a lot of people have stated on this that they're going to wait for the club to have a Christmas sale to get it because they know they're going to get it cheaper.
Yeah, because I mean, let's be honest, the Sky Patrol set is still in stock.
Yeah, Sky Patrol still there.
And if I remember correctly, wasn't the Zombie Initiative still in stock for the Black Friday sales this year?
No.
Or was that last year? That was last year. Never mind.
It was a year before last.
Yeah.
They did a blowout Black Friday and they sold out.
And if you think about it, like, okay, so I was stupid the year of the Zombie Initiative, and I didn't buy a home front or anything, so I had to pick them all up on eBay. And so, certain characters are going to go for more, et cetera, et cetera. But this year, with basically 8 freaking bats, let's start off with the fact that the bats were part of the 25th anniversary line. Then they were part of the 25th anniversary DVD pack. Then they were part of the Defensive Cobra Island set. Then they were in Pursuit of Cobra as a jungle bat. Then it was in 2014 in the first of the 50th as an Arctic bat. Now we've got an urban bat. Plus they were in the Resolute set. Damn, how many more bats do people need? And I think that what's going to happen is people who get the extra sets and try to sell them, you're going to see the Battle Force.
Oh yeah, I got a feeling you'll see the bats.
Let's put this one. I picked up, I got the box set golden ticket this year. I picked up a loose set The only reason I even picked up a loose set was because I'd already talked to a guy who was interested in buying the Joe side of it.
It's because Mike is going to make Tiger Force bats. Don't let him tell you otherwise.
But anyways, and we the guy paid me for the Joes, which I gave him a great deal, $30 a pop on the Joes. So that
Man,
was
It's not bad.
I would have
that's
cashed
one-
in on that. Yeah.
so that there's 180 right there of 295. So I'm suckered
See,
in for the rest of it.
I would feel so bad breaking up a box set. Like, I didn't like that with Transformers. I know I wouldn't like it with Joe. Like, I just don't like to break up sets. You know?
And
But
then-
I could totally see it. Like, yeah, just give me the Battle Force guys. Forget all those bats for how much is the box set again? And like
410.
410.
Yeah.
It went up noticeably this year.
Yeah.
In fact,
$25. And
Now-
here's what I'm saying real quick. And then once they revealed the bats, and I got to look at it, I was like, okay, I'm going to have 8 in the box. Which
I
is
like that
plenty.
sword arm. I can make like a custom Mega Man, like Proto Man with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
And then I ended up selling the other 8 to another guy for $20 a pop.
yeah.
and
So
honestly,
the going rate is going to be anywhere from no more than $25 on the aftermarket secondary market period.
Yeah.
I
There's
think
too many of them.
Well, I think what's going to end up happening is it's going to be, again, whenever Joecon's going on, everybody they're on their phone like, crap, can I get a deal on this? And so, the price will go up, but then and then it'll cool. But I think when it cools on these bats, it's going to really cool because,
Oh, yeah.
it's again, Mike, when I were talking beforehand, 2009. So the club did their first modern construction set. It was in Kansas City. And it was they modernized the Crimson Strike Force. So you got Tomax, Zaymot, Baroness, and the rest of the set were Vipers. The difference there between the bats and the Vipers were these were Crimson Vipers, and these were Vipers that had the wrist fixed because the 25th anniversary Vipers had that gimpy sculpted wrist that was only corrected for the second 5-pack box set. And suddenly the club comes in, and not only do they use the fixed wrist version, but you get the Crimson version of it. And that's back, again, people were still like kind of Crimson crazy, and they were building their Crimson factions. That set still sells really well. If you watch eBay, you can get a deal on a Crimson Viper now and then for under 30, but they get a good price for them. Bats aren't Vipers.
No.
And, I'm willing to bet a pile of Snake Eyes figures that more people in Joe fandom will collect Vipers than they will collect bats, simply because there is an element of G.I. Joe fandom that doesn't like the more science fiction aspect.
For me, I think it's that the Vipers just look cooler.
Dude, Vipers.
So
the Vipers.
Yeah, it's all about aesthetic. Like at the end of the day, like let's be honest, we're all shallow. Yeah, going back to the souvenirs, you were talking about the the new head sculpts, and you're saying how the club kind of shoots himself in the foot with just offering that in the souvenirs, and I see that from like we're selling them perspective, but from the attendees perspective, I think that's awesome. That's that extra awesome. I'm pat on the back for me. Glad I came. I always like seeing the newer tooling, at BotCons and stuff like that. And I can only imagine I'd like to see it at Joecon. Like, okay, I get the souvenir set with these new pieces, and I'm not just buying something that doesn't have any new tooling.
One thing about the club on souvenirs is that, and this is just a fact of anybody who runs a convention and they have to purchase a lot of product, is that they don't want to take it back home.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is where this plays a fact to what is probably going to happen, is that we're going to see the characters we wanted to see in the box set at Joecon as
the
exclusives.
souvenirs.
They will be the souvenirs. It's going to be the Hot Wire?
Yeah.
And
Overkill maybe?
Overkill, and then they were talking about Laser Vipers.
Well, and
DJ.
I was going to say DJ.
we're going to do. You know, it's going to really piss some people off. Is this DJ is the freebie with the box set?
Oh my God!
People will lose their shit. Period.
Yeah.
They will go crazy. And the reason, and this gives people, they're trying to make people come out to Joecon. They're trying to make them, yeah, it's in Disney. Yes, it's expensive, but we got to go in order to get it, or we're going to pay the crazy aftermarket price. Where now it's gotten to the point where people are like, I'll pay the markup versus paying the trip.
See,
Yeah.
I don't know. See, I agree with the mentality of let's keep the best figures for souvenir figures, you know, because yeah, you know, you do want people to come out, you know,
Right.
and as someone who would want to come out, I want something to entice me to come out.
Well,
You know,
then
like Mike, we saw with the Megatrons last year.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
oh God, dude, even still getting it on the aftermarket, you're paying 3 times what it costs.
Exactly.
So
You know,
then,
that's-
you know, if they keep the good stuff for the souvenirs, then my challenge to the club would be, why hold back the reveal of what the souvenir pieces are
Yep.
for the convention?
Yeah.
Because think about this here. Okay,
Yeah.
so we've got bats. We've got bat-tastrophe going on here, where everybody's, you know, freaking out about the bats. Okay, so then what if would you be more willing to go, knowing, yeah, I'm going to get stuck with a ton of bats, but DJ, Hotwire, and Overkill are guaranteed at the con. You don't even have to show what they look like, but
Right.
put out a list that says, hey, you know what? At the con, you're going to get a chance to get and again, for anyone tuning in, I do not have inside information. This is purely speculative, but you're going to get, you know, the Hotwire Overkill 2-pack. You know, you're going to get the, attendee bonus DJ, and you're going to be able to get the super limited edition Battle Force 2000 G.I. Joe Rhino. You know, let people know what is going to be available at the con, as opposed to, well, we have souvenir items, and, you know, bring more than you brought last year.
But would it be so obvious that they're not going to do that? You know what I mean? Like, you know,
Well, they never
have they been pretty good about completing teams?
No.
Okay, well, never mind. I lost my angle there.
I'll tell you, Night Force. Night Force is a perfect example, because I love the Nocturnal Fire set. You know, I went to Indianapolis. I got that in my greedy little hands. I was like, this set's awesome. And Lightfoot and Falcon and there were, you know, Sneak Peek. All those guys were missing from the set. You know,
Right, but didn't those see retail release though?
No, Falcon was a subscription service.
Yeah,
Falcon
because Falcon was supposed to be retail and was canceled, and was subscription service. But like, to use Mike's favorite Tiger Force, you know, Sneak Peek, we're getting a Tiger Force Sneak Peek, but unless they do it for next year, we don't have a Night Force Sneak Peek.
Right.
You know, so the club's been good-ish about completing teams, like the Tiger Force set. You know, Tiger Force Roadblock. There's no Tiger Force Roadblock, so, you know, I don't know what they're going to do. And again, one of the challenges they have this year, especially, is you're doing a team that are 6 vehicle drivers, essentially. Well, you know, DJ didn't have his own vehicle, I don't believe, but you have 6 vehicle drivers. What are you going to do for an equivalent for that? Because I can't see them doing 6 vehicles.
No way.
Nobody would buy them.
Well,
there's no way in hell people are going to go and buy 6 vehicles for the bot. There's just it's unheard of.
I mean, and you know, again, they're going to have to be smaller pieces, because I have mad lust over the Sky Patrol Sky Striker. I did not buy one because I didn't go last year. I didn't buy one even when the club had, you know, they have them in the store now, but it's expensive. The bigger the vehicle, and you know, you remember, look at the Tiger Hawk. I mean, you know, I bought it at the convention. I felt like I needed, you know, grief counseling afterwards for the effect it had on my credit card. And as you said earlier, that's gone up in value, because quite honestly, that thing's gorgeous. And I don't even like Tiger Force. So I don't know what they're going to do. You know, it's tricky because the Battle Force 2000 vehicles were so crazy different. And, you know, plus they had the whole Future Fortress pseudo gimmick where they sort of slapped together and made a weird thing.
Right.
But I don't know even what the equivalent. I've been racking my brain about this for the last 2 weeks, trying to come up with, what are they going to use? You know, are we going to see that the submarine that ended up in the event that, oh boy, God, people are going to kill me because I can't remember. The Stingraider. Is the Stingraider going to come back as the Vector, you know? Are we going to try to do that kind of stuff? It's like, you know, or is it going to be another Firebat again? You know, what are they going to do for vehicles? Because that's a big part of who Battle Force 2000 is. And given the fact that the convention set went up in price this year, the bag set went up in price this year, the golden ticket went up in price this year.
Everything.
Those souvenir
went up in
prices
price.
are going up.
Yeah,
And-
there's not a shadow of doubt they will go up. And we're all,
remember, the very first big price increase was because of the dock workers strike, you know, in Springfield when they had to ship this is extenuating circumstances. And then once they got the money for it and they saw that we as fans were willing to pay for it, Sky Patrol souvenir prices didn't drop one darn bit.
Nope, they did not.
And this year at Disney, and I think I'm tangenting here, but I think this is my biggest problem with Joecon anymore is we've seen that the attendance is not going up on this event. And
Not this year.
I would rather see the cost per individual to go to the con and to get a decent set of souvenirs be lower to encourage more people to come. Even if they instead of doing a 15-figure box set, what if they did a 6-figure named character set, and then the troop builders, they sold in like 3-packs or something, and you could buy as many as you wanted. But
just as long as they give me a Night Force set, I'll take the rest of the Night Force. No, not Night Force, Ninja Force.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I need
they need to finish. Well, I still want a Cobra Law set, but I'm in the minority.
Because get the crossover this year with the Scarlet has me like craving. Because I went ahead and picked up all the comics from that kind of span. I need Ninja Force. I need all of them.
Well, you got one more year on the current contract.
I know.
But
man.
you know, again, I don't, and again, my prediction for that is next year's if 2018 ends up being Fun Publications' last Joecon, my gut tells me it'll be in Texas.
Yes.
Oh, and that's so close. That'd be so perfect.
It'll
Texas
be in Texas.
Joecon, Ninja Force. Oh, I'm going.
It'll be in Texas because then they can have a warehouse sale.
And because I mean, we'll be in that same hotel they always have it in. What was that hotel at Dakota? We stayed there for Joecon.
There was the one in Frisco.
Not Frisco, Dallas. The one
Downtown.
downtown.
Dallas. Oh, the Hyatt.
Hyatt Regency.
Union Tower.
Yeah. Matter of fact, if you didn't know that, here's a little bit of tidbit information that they actually filmed an episode of Dallas there back in the 70s. They try to pass it off as Las Vegas.
And they have the most delicious cheesecake with these little bitty pieces of chocolate on it.
Only you would know this.
Oh, dude. How could I forget? And like stuffed chicken. Oh, so good.
The elevator ride was the best part of the whole damn place, I think.
I like the spinny thing where you stand and it just spins you around like it's the future. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
but guys, I gotta go, man. Thank you for having me on. It was cool. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to ask here real quick, since we're, because I think we've kind of done a good job of going over Joecon and everything, I think, so far tonight. Well, actually, let me ask you this. To each of you guys that are here, what do you think is the highlight, and what do you think is the weakest figure in the announced set so far?
Are you asking me and Dakota?
Yep, you guys. I want to know what's your top and what's your bottom for the set so far.
Dakota,
Mike,
go
you
ahead.
go first.
No, let Dakota go. He's got to leave.
The highlight, I don't really think I have like just a solid highlight figure. I'm kind of meh on everything, but as a unit, I like how the Battle Force guys look. I think they all look great together, and that's huge for me. Like something that's going to look good on a shelf, like as a team. Like I've said it a million times. I'm a team collector, The mez is the main, or not the main, is the troop builder, the bats. I like the main bat, the red and all that other stuff, but with the ones that you're getting 8 of, that orange, it's not, there's not enough of a break, there's not enough of a difference. So I think those are the meh point with this year's set for me.
Okay.
Just not doing it.
All right, Mike, how about you?
Let's see here. Let me pull up the picture again. The one I am really looking forward to the most is Blaster. I feel like Blaster was done very good. Solid looking figure, great looking head sculpt that didn't really mirror image the rest of them as much. I think that's the solid choice they did. The one that I'm not really keen on the most is really a tie between Knockdown. Is that his name? Yeah, Knockdown. Yes. Knockdown and Dodger. Dodger, for the sheer fact when you look at him, he has these huge arms and like he missed chest and back day at the workout. I mean, honestly, it's
See, I think Dodger looks cool.
I mean, if you want a Michael Richards figure, there you go. Dodger,
I gotta agree with you. For me, and actually, it's the exact same too. It's Blaster. I think Blaster and Maverick are probably, I think, the two strongest. I miss Maverick's like unique helmet. I'll live. But Dodger, it's funny. Years ago, I started reviewing some of the vintage figures at JBL, and Dodger was one of the ones that I did, and I was amazed just what an awesome build he was. He had, he was sleeveless, but he had that kind of cool, like dragon scale armor. If you remember from Future Weapons when they talked about that, he had this armored vest. He had, the helmet with the comm piece. He had the Colonial Marines vibe going, and I don't know what happened, but it didn't work. What they tried didn't come together in the set this year, and it's a shame because I think Dodger is actually probably the fan favorite of most people for Battle Force 2000. Well, I mean, for one thing, he's the guy that lived, but I don't know what happened. I got to say, it's Blaster. Blaster looks like he's a future trooper, man. He looks like he's kind of a badass. Knockdown, I don't know. And I think the other weak thing is I think just the lack of variety in the bats, but.
Yeah, now don't get me wrong. I am a bat fanatic. I love bats. 8, I think, is overkill. I have like 2, 3 most of each bat, maybe.
Yeah.
And I really think, I mean, even 4, I would have been happy with 4 in the set.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I think it's pun intended. It's overkill. How many bats were? I mean, it's not. It's just. I think the last show that you missed when we were talking about it, and I even said it. The other bat that we're getting 8 of is going to be a different color. You wait and see. And I was exactly right. Yeah. Same damn bat, different color, and all we got was the damn sword that we got in FSS, and we didn't get a missile launcher like the squad leader does.
And again, had it not been tangerine and orange, if they had gone like red or something, I mean, hell, just blue, something very visibly different.
Yeah, I mean, they went with red and orange. Yeah, a lot of people are. The joke on the oranges is that we're in Florida. That's a citrus state. Blah blah blah.
Look, it's the orange bats led by Tomato Bat. Yeah.
I mean, now the other figure I found to be very interesting until someone pointed out that he looks like Elmer Fudd, blocker.
I was thinking of that. It's like, you ask away bats, we're hunting robots.
That'll be the attendee exclusive. He'll come with some Bugs Bunny or something like that.
It's a wabbit bat.
Yeah, but I mean,
If you remember the Valor versus Venom bats, the second ones had those rabbit-like antennas, so who knows?
Right. Now, as far as the Joes in this set, from the highest to the lowest, in my opinion, was a Blocker. No, not Blocker. It was a Blaster, then Blocker, Maverick, Avalanche, Dodger, then Knockout from highest to lowest for me.
Poor Knockdown. Knockdown had a goofy look. He was and okay, this is Fred soapbox time again. The thing that makes me sad about Knockdown is I know they didn't want to. They retooled his pistol. That's fine. I would have rather they retooled his helmet, because of the original Knockdown, the best part of him was his helmet.
Right.
Like by far the best part. This is a close match, but this makes him look too much like a helo pilot. Because it's an existing piece of military tech, it kind of takes away from the future aesthetic. And also, dear God, I hope you didn't paint the gray cylinders on the chest. Because in that Photoshop mock-up, no, that doesn't work.
Oh, I think it's going to be tamper graph.
Oh, that's going to look terrible. Just leave them off.
If you look at the Rodimus and the RC crossover figures, it's tamper graph. That's what they're going toward. And this is where, and I'm kind of curious, not only because the club was, a lot of people are going to say they were quick to throw this together to give us a set by the end of January. They were so adamant about putting this up in registration for January, which is not really, it's not really heard of by the club to have this ready to roll on time when they say so.
No one is more upset about this than we are.
We're just as frustrated as you are.
Yes, that's their standard reply. They've never been on time.
And I don't understand why they were so happy about getting it up in a certain time. And this is why I think because with Pete not being there no more, I don't think it would have happened the way it happened.
Yeah.
I really think, for people who think that Pete was just a Transformer guy and that's all he worried about, it's not true. He played marketing on both sides of the fence. But, I feel like we might have gotten something better or something different, or it would have been pushed back till all the reveals were done before we got what we got, in my opinion. And they really need to get these in hand to show us a half-assed job of what they're going to look like.
I would even handle just a parts mock-up without it being painted to match, so it would kind of look like a pre-pro figure. I don't care. But we have seen in the past a variation between Photoshop and reality. And it's the nature of the beast. They're not doing these in an AutoCAD 3D design program. They're doing these in Photoshop. So, things are off. It's kind of like I'm really hoping with FSS that Ambush does not have a 17-foot long neck, because the mock-up, he looks like Giraffe Man. But, and actually that's kind of a transition, because, we just got the next FSS shipment. So Darklon and whoops, spoiled the surprise, kids.
Yeah,
Darklon. Screw it. Darklon and Salvo hit. I don't care. We live in the age of the internet.
And just for you people who think when you did get them that you were lucky enough to get the one out of whack of ordering because it says 3A, 3B on it, the club apparently got the figures shipped in multiple or maybe just 2 shipments, where the second one it doesn't come in until either now or later in the month. So the next one we'll get will be 2A, 2B, which someone here in the questions we found it was asking what we were thinking. Who do you think will ship next in the next 5-0? That was Michael. I can't pronounce his last name.
Oh, do not ask me hard questions about who's going to ship next, because honestly, the club does things in order I never understand. Yikes. I'll tell you who I want to ship next.
Yeah, who's that?
And again, Mike's going to be like, seriously, you like that one? Damn it, I want me some Raptor.
I'll stop you right there. I was going to say Raptor. I don't care for the Raptor, but I was really thinking it was going to be Raptor in the second one.
I need my Goofy Birdman. With my luck, it's going to be Gaucho. And Gaucho is the figure that I'm just like, look, it's gung-ho in different colors. And I'm tossing him over my shoulder because I don't give a crap.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would hope, I mean, unfortunately, the order that they're released in never really gives you a good idea when they do the previews. The preview order never really gives you a good idea of what's coming when. My suspicion is that they're going to hold what they think is the best to last. So if it were me, and I'm looking at the list over here on the sides while I'm looking off camera, my two most anticipated that we haven't shipped yet are Raptor and probably, I hate to say it, it's going to be that Zaymot. So I would think they're going to be the last shipment.
I think you're right. Zaymot will be the last one.
I would be okay with any of the others coming. This month, we got Darklon and we got Salvo, and Darklon's a pretty straightforward build. You got the Destro, the gold-headed Destro from the 25th era legs. You got the second 25th Zartan arms. You got that Pursuit of Cobra sort of combat sweater torso. You got the head that they did from the it was the year of the October Guard set. Was it 2010, I think, or was it 11? Anyway, you got that Darklon head, and he's a great looking build. He is goofy as all hell. He is so accurate to the vintage that you're kind of like, did you get dressed in the dark, buddy? Because that just doesn't go together. And then we got Salvo, and I know this, a lot of times people are like, come on, rag on the club. And I'm like, well, you got to find something good to talk about in each figure. What the hell is up with Salvo? I'm just going to say it. Everything from the knees up, great figure, works perfectly. Mm-hmm. Everything from the knees down, I really want to know, did the club actually put these parts together and test it before they said, yeah, let's use that? Because they use the G.I. Joe Resolute, too many words, the Retaliation G.I. Joe Trooper lower legs, which are the same ones that we got on Charbroil. Those ankles don't have a lot of forward range of motion. And then you have knees with these gimpy knee pads that don't allow the leg to fully straighten. And what I'm hearing and what I experienced tonight before I came here is that you really have to work with Salvo to stand. When you had a figure that so many people railed against your initial build on, and so you changed it, do it right. And I know maybe they didn't want to do just a straight reuse of the Retaliation roadblock body, all, head, neck to bottom of the feet, but at least that build works. Yeah. And so Salvo ends up being kind of frustrating for a lot of people because you have to take a hairdryer to his knees and you have to really force those ankles to get him to stand. Now, if I were paying $5 for this figure at Dollar General, I'd be like, well, it's $5 figure. It sucks, but I'll fix them. When I'm paying FSS prices for them, I expect the figure to be able to damn well stand.
Yep.
See, people out there, I can rant too. And that it's weird because you get this shipment where you have, who would have ever thought that Darklon would be the best figure in a shipment? I mean, seriously.
I'm so glad I got that because of the simple fact that I don't have to pay out the wazoo for the con exclusive one.
Oh, I'm actually going to go as far as to say, aside from not having hinged wrists, which is my pet peeve, this Darklon is actually better. And I never thought I would say that because I thought the other one did a really good job of taking his classic design, but kind of giving him a modern edge. This one is full on crazy vintage Darklon, and Darklon is not an easy design to look at. He was crazy in '89, and I love this figure to death. Like, I actually went on eBay this week and bought another Evader just to cram him in there, even if that's the sword gets in the way. I mean, this is a solid. This figure is far more fun than it has any business being. And I wish I could have said the same thing about Salvo. I really wanted Salvo to be amazing.
This one here, I've heard. Of course, I haven't taken mine out of the package yet. I'm more of a card guy, unless I get another set to open. But to my understanding, people are having problems. His arm rotation doesn't go all the way up because of the shoulder pads, I believe.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying that.
That little piece, the pauldron on the left shoulder. Again, the club's going for aesthetic. That piece does interfere a little bit with the movement. I can't recall if it's glued down. If it's not, I think you could probably pop it loose and just kind of reset it and then re-glue it. Again, the fact that we have to do that on premium priced figures drives me nuts.
Right.
But, you know, all in all, Darkline, I mean, they added a sword to him simply because they didn't paint the molded belt lines.
I didn't even know he had a sword until he showed up at the house.
Because the original didn't. The original just had the crazy needler gun. Yeah. And I was okay with that. This ties him in a little bit more thematically with Destro, a little bit more like what they did with Voltar a couple years ago. So I don't know what it is. I should hate this figure. I am more of a realistic guy. I mean, this figure is a nightmare in terms of aesthetics, orange and red and green. It's like you're reading off the colors from Lucky Charms, and he's amazing. So, and then you get to Salvo, and Salvo is like, man, Salvo is so straightforward. Like, okay, big dude, t-shirt. They fixed it. They gave him the bulky legs. Yeah, his launcher kind of sucks, but whatever. I can work around that. I get him out of the package. I stand him up, and he falls over backwards. And I think, maybe it's just me. And I get him up, and I stand him again, and he falls over backwards again. And then I realize his knees are about as arthritic as the Slaughter's Marauders box set version of Taurus. And somewhere I think there's a club build guy that I just curse right now because you went with something, again, that was more visually accurate to the vintage, but that doesn't work in terms of functionality. And damn it. And I think what's even awesome about him is that they used an unexpected head choice. They took the hit and run head and gave it to you bald, and it works. It's like perfect. So again, Salvo from the knees up is a great figure, and from the knees down, he needs, I don't know, something to help with. He needs some glucosamine to help with his joint problems.
Yeah. So that's what now the head under him was damn it, who's his head?
Hit and run.
Hit and Run's head, that's right.
Hit and Run's head. What's funny is because what you're used to seeing, that Hit and Run head, was released in Nocturnal Fire unpainted. Then it was FSS 4 painted. And then it was last year's Toys R Us set where he's on the freaky Wolf Squad gray colors painted. So he's been covered more often than not. Releasing him bald, he looks different enough that it works. It's a thicker, stronger head, and it makes sense for a guy that was walking around with a pillbox launcher or a pepperbox launcher, on his shoulder. Like, this dude's an animal. In fact, I don't know if Mike, if you watch any of the CW superhero shows, but if anybody watching this does, Salvo reminds me a ton of Mick Rory, who plays Heatwave he's the character Heatwave on Legends of Tomorrow. Just this big kind of brusque dude. And I'm hoping I can fix his knees because he really deserves to be a good figure. Right.
And they, like you said, they kind of dropped the ball. Well, at least they came back and, fixed it to where he wasn't the Bruce Banner version.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's go back to some Joecon news about this year's guest. For you people who didn't know that, if you didn't read the brochure, you didn't know that Kurt Bonziak.
Kurt Bazigian! Woo!
Right, and he was going to be a guest again this year. He was the first announced. Then there was is it Brad Sanders? Is it Brad? Is that? You have to forgive me here. Let's see here.
While Mike's looking this up, for those of you who go to Joecon, I encourage you, if Kirk does another marketing warfare panel, please go. Kirk's panels every year I've gone I work in advertising. So for me, Kirk's panels are like amazing because he's talking about the marketing strategy that went into making toys of different parts of Joe. So, the last time I went, which was 2 years ago, he was talking about why like the Battle Core figures came with the weapons on the trees, that you had to twist off yourself, and why a lot of the colors were chosen in the end of the line. Even though 93 was one of the biggest years, it was the year that Power Rangers was looming on the horizon. And he really walked you through. He gave us the reason that Star Brigade happened. And so if you get a chance to go, absolutely go to one of Kirk's panels. They're fascinating.
The other guest was Brad Sanders. He played Big Lob in the cartoon movie back in the heyday. But he's very, very well known as a soap opera star. So that was his main focus, as being a soap opera guy. But,
seriously?
Yeah. Let's see, daytime. He's received 2 Daytime Emmy Award nominations as a writer-performer in Daytime Emmy. Let's see what shows he was on.
That's hilarious.
He plays Clarence. I'm just trying to overread it real quick. I'm not for sure which shows he's played on. Which ones. He's a soap opera guy.
That's hilarious. So yeah. Big Lob made his move into daytime.
Yeah. But we are knowing that he will be there as the voice actor of Big Lob. And Big Lob is the free club figure this year. If you're signed up by, I believe it's March 16th this year as a club member, you'll get him for free, or the 12-inch figure for free. So that just tells us that we will get a carded Big Lob at the show. And what's very funny about this, let me tell you a little story real quick, is that for people who don't know, that I am I'm the owner, operator, promoter for Little Rock Comic Con in Arkansas. And last year, I had a guy, a good friend of mine, who does heads, molds. He makes all his parts, or he gets the parts, what he wants to use, and makes the head sculpts. And he did a custom Big Lob figure, and he did, I forget, I think like 10 of them. I think he had custom cards done for him. It had my logo for the show. That's the Little Rock Comic Con, and and I avidly talked to Brian Savage a few times, throughout the year, and I always send him the information on my show to let him know. I kind of want to get his input sometimes, to a degree. And I sent him the picture of the figure that was carded. Of course, I didn't know using the word G.I. Joe was, I didn't think of it being copyright infringement. But he had just come back and said, you might want to, change the name because, legal will get after you. So I find it very humorous how I showed him this figure that my buddy had made, carded, before they even announced Big Lob as their free giveaway figure. So, I wonder if I inspired him or what. I find it humorous in a way that they did it after I had showed that my guy had already produced 10 of these out of his garage and carded them, for a local convention.
If you're responsible for me getting a modern construction Big Lob, hell yeah.
I would like to say I would take credit for it, but I know I would never get credit for it. I wish I could find the email where I showed him that just to check the date on it. But it was, let's see, May. My show was in May of last year. So it was May, April, February. It was about this time last year I showed it to him. So they hadn't announced Big Lob yet.
So
So hey, makes you wonder how they came up with using Big Lob all of a sudden.
I am happy to see that they did invite Larry Hama again to Joecon. You kind of have to have Larry there. I'm not saying that like, just to take him for granted. Larry is one of the most gracious comic book people ever to his fans. He's very appreciative. Takes his time to talk to people. He's just very down to earth. And I think you kind of have to have Larry there. I mean, Larry was unusual in the fact that he not only did the file cards, he wrote the comics. I mean, he had so much influence over the Real American Hero era. That's why they call him the godfather of this era of G.I. Joe, rightly so. And I think as long as Larry is willing to go to Joecon, as long as you're having a Joecon, by God, invite the man. And he's always entertaining, always gives a great panel. So I'm happy to see that. Diana Davis, who is well known as, the Duke's biggest fan, has brought up a point in a number of the Facebook groups recently. And that is that this year is the 30th anniversary year of the animated G.I. Joe, the movie. It was 30 years ago that this was, released. And I'm kind of surprised in some ways that the club isn't doing more to tie into that. And maybe they will, and that will be announced, in the coming months. But this would have been, to me, this would have been the year to get as many of the voice actors, there that you could afford as possible. Like Arthur Burghardt, who voiced Destro, who's become very active with his fans on Facebook recently, or, Michael, always entertaining Michael Bell, or, Bill Ratner again. But to get some of the voice actors there to kind of celebrate the 30th anniversary of the animated movie. I mean, say what you will about Cobra Law and all that, but it's still a fun flick. It's the swan song of Sunbow. And it's also got the greatest animated intro ever done for anything.
There was a lot of people were talking. They were hoping to get a Cobra Law in this year's convention set, and that's not what happened. Of course, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Because of the parts to be made for certain figures and that nature.
Yeah.
And then it's funny you should mention the voice actor of Destro. He is actually going to be at TFCon Toronto this year.
The voice of Devastator. Yeah, I forgot he was Devastator in Transformers.
Right. So they're announcing him as Devastator and Destro. So, I mean, it's funny that he's actually, I think TFCon's in July. Maybe
yeah,
I think is when it is. So in the club, they could still pull out a couple of voice actors from back then still,
BJ Ward, Scarlet. We unfortunately we just lost the voice of Serpentor. This would have been the year to have him there.
Right.
And sadly he passed far too early. But and unfortunately, G.I. Joe does have this problem in the fact that probably the one voice actor that everybody who loves G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero, would want to see passed away back in the 90s, and that's Chris Latta.
Yep.
Sadly, we don't have Chris there, but there still are so many of these voice actors available, and they are, I was fortunate enough to have a very long email conversation over several months with Bill Ratner a while back, because I met him in Indy, and yes, I knew him from G.I. Joe. He also did a modern day Doc Savage radio adaptation. He was Rennie Renwick, the engineer of Doc's 5 Aids, and I talked to him about that, and he was shocked that anyone remembered it. And the whole point is that these voice actors, Bill and Mary McDonnell Lewis, who did Lady J, it's like they're not used to realizing that they have all these fans out there, and they're very accessible, and they're very easy to talk to, and it makes for just some fantastic interaction. And even Zach Hoffman, get Zartan back, get some of these guys back just for, another con, especially with, Fun Pub's fate, being uncertain after 2018. And you're right, doing a Cobra Law set, I would kill for a Cobra Law set.
Right.
But honestly, okay, we've got Pythona. We've had a now small Nemesis Enforcer as scale creep has come in the line. But Nemesis Enforcer you could bring back. You could use the Ryza Cobra. The Red Neo Vipers could fill in for Cobra Law troopers. But the elephant in the room with that would be Globulus, because unless they could do some sort of partnership with Boss Fight to get that snake lower torso, they're not going to make a Globulus. That would be the club's entire tooling budget to produce a snake lower torso that would get used precisely once.
And it's funny you should mention that. I'm wondering why they're not using Boss Fight anymore, why they went where they're at, because a lot of people complained this year how all the head sculpts included the helmet, that the helmet's not removable.
I actually wonder if some of that is because, the guys from Boss Fight Studios, they are all former Hasbro employees, and they have been fortunate enough through their own perseverance and hard work and Kickstarter. They are producing their own figures now. They did the Vitruvian hacks, we're in the mythology series right now. I think we're up to wave 6, and they're fantastic. And we're going to get the fantasy series, for series 2 that they're teasing. They've been doing some teaser images of, and they announced that they're doing. They got the Bucky O'Hare license. Like,
right.
We're going to get freaking Bucky O'Hare highly articulated figures. Who'd have thought that? They also did some of the sculpting work for Eagle Force. I know they did some help. They did some work with John, who was on earlier, with Dime Novel Legends. I almost wonder if they're too busy now. And I also wonder too if the club kind of looked at them. It was great when they weren't producing their own stuff, but the club at one point, and I don't remember how it was mentioned, they got really defensive a couple of years ago when somebody complimented Boss Fight's work. And I want to say it was at last year's Joecon or the one before, in a panel where Brian said, well, Boss Fight, we design the builds. We tell Boss Fight what to do, but Boss Fight works to our specs.
Right.
And it was a weird interaction. It was almost like there was a jealousy that Boss Fight was getting all this recognition and that the club wasn't. And I don't know why they're not using him. They're using the Four Horsemen now, the guys that did who are former McFarlane sculptors who went to work for Mattel back in the early 2000s as contract. And they did most notably, they did the Masters of the Universe Classics designs. And the Four Horsemen have a different aesthetic. They're used to working in a larger scale, for one thing. They're used to working in a 6-inch scale. And the designs this year, you can tell it's just not Boss Fight. It's a stylistically different approach. And you're right. Not only are the helmets molded on, but they're small. I mean, the head and helmet together are the size of what the head should be. When you're wearing a helmet, there's extra bulk there. And Avalanche and Dodger and some of these guys, those helmets are tiny looking.
Yeah, so, I'm hoping we don't get if you recall a few years back, it was on the Transformer side, they did a punch counter punch out of a Universe Sunstreaker mold, and the head on it was super tiny. And by the time they got into production, and the last thing, it was too late to do any changes or to even get it to fit in there correctly. So, I mean, the club is known to have head sculpts done where you pretty much have a Beetlejuice head. You have this huge body, but you get this tiny little head.
Or you had Bomb Strike, where it was the opposite. Her head was almost too big. Right.
Yeah.
And and again, I know that there are issues with the factories as well. Look at going back to the Joe versus Cobra and the Spy Troops era. You remember the Destro that came out, and he had the turtleneck, and he had the the maroon pants, and he had his wee little noggin. And it was because they sent everything over to China, and production was different than what they had expected. Things ended up different, and I don't know why they're not using Boss Fight. I think that having former Hasbro sculptors doing your sculpting work on your club G.I. Joe line, I think was awesome, because the club figures for a while there really felt like a natural extension of what Hasbro had done.
Mm-hmm.
We were used to seeing that same aesthetic carried over, and for whatever, I would hope to think that it's because Boss Fight is too busy now, that they are so busy with their own projects and all these other things that they just don't have time to do it, because that to me is the only excuse for not using them, is that they simply don't have time on their roster. Because if it's any other reason, then the club really needs to rethink that decision as soon as they can.
All right, that's true. Man, what happened to John? Did he just drop off?
John had issues, and he said, yeah, he'll catch us next time. I was kind of hoping John could stay on longer, because John is a parts god.
Right.
John Russell, Alyosha, was on for a little bit tonight with us, and John does the custom class every year. And every year makes me mad that I don't go to the custom class and that I can't buy the figure that they use, because Robo Joe and Bullet Man and some of these, damn it, that's what I want in my FSS.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think the club's watching this, but damn it, Brian, FSS, please give me Bullet Man and Robo Joe and some of the more whacked out concepts, because John did damn good work in those custom figures.
Yeah, I got to do Bullet Man last year, and I was hoping he'd stay on a little longer. I can tell him that my arm on mine broke right off. See if he could have the parts from this year. I could just come by and get a new arm or something. Yeah, that arm, I think maybe because the room I'm in, sometimes it gets affected by the weather. Sometimes it'll get a little too cold in here when it gets cold. And maybe that was, I don't know. I was very upset about it, that it broke like that. But for people who are wanting to do the customizing class, they actually still have, I believe it's Wednesday custom class available. And Thursday is sold out, I think is what it was. One of the days are sold out, and the other one's still available if someone's needing to get customizing class for this year's Joecon. I don't know.
Nice to see that something sold out for this year's Joecon.
That's the only thing that sold out for this year's Joecon. It's a little sad, but maybe they're going to build, make the box sets to order almost, knowing that they're only going to have a couple of years left. Maybe you won't have, maybe let's say they sell 400 box sets pre-order. So maybe they just make 800 box sets.
I'll be honest, I still haven't done anything with ordering a home front this year, because man, the price on that just hurts.
Everything went up. Everything across the board for the club went up. Even the customizing class went up.
And it's not like everything else in the economy hasn't gone up. I get that, except for wages, but that's a much larger issue. And again, I find myself just, there's the whole stereotype, oh, Joe fans are cheap. No, I just like to think that we're frugal. And again, $410 for 7-figure designs this year, because the bat's really the same thing, just repainted. It's harder to bite. Whereas in the past couple of years, even Tiger Force here. I'm not a fan of Tiger Force, but you know what? I bought the set because there was enough good stuff in there that I could swallow down the fact that, man, the colors on these just burn your retinas. And it's harder this year. And I think a lot of people are in that same boat where, I've seen people that have purchased their tickets to go to Joecon that are kind of regretting it. One friend of mine on Facebook got his room, had everything ready, and canceled. And he posted, Rock, if you're out there, you're the one I'm talking about. He gave the best reason. He said, he looked at the value into it, and he said, he's going to spend money instead on boss fights next Kickstarter and on Marauder Task Force figures and things of that nature. And he's just going to save it because, 9 bats, that's it's a bat-tastrophe.
The funny part is that, Duffman, he checks there regularly to see how many are available. And one day, the golden ticket went from 2 to 3. So that means someone canceled their package. Or maybe there was people who have bought this that are not happy, and you probably don't know this, is that you can cancel your order, but there is a service charge. I think I think it's $25 maybe.
There's a service charge to do everything with the club. There's a service charge to use a credit card with the club.
Yeah,
$7.
But
yeah, the club still doesn't take PayPal.
I know, right? Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Yeah,
it's the year 2017. It's okay. We can take online payments.
Now, Grant, the reason I go to Joecon is to get away from the family. And then I had to look real quick, is to get away and have a good time, see people I know, and I feel like out of all the years I've gone to a fun publication show that I felt more at home with Joecon than I ever did with BotCon. BotCon has its certain group of people where Joecon's more genuine, more I feel genuine people are there for the brand than anything else. Matter of fact, I know a group of people who are actually coming to Joecon that usually go to nothing but BotCon because they want to be able to have an event to go to, because they always get together at the fun publication show.
Got it.
So instead of going to BotCon, there's no more BotCon, so we'll go to Joecon. So we'll see how that works. He's a real good friend of mine, as a matter of fact, and I'm looking forward to seeing him again. And it's people always say they take the package, they divide it up. Well, this tells me that this is how much I'm paying for the set or each figure of that nature, and it's kind of like, true, you're paying a lot for that, but it's kind of like, you're paying. You're paying for the experience. You're paying for the panels. You're paying for the dinner. You're paying to go to this fancy hotel that they have currently remodeled. If y'all didn't see my live videos when I was in Florida last year, walking around and not getting caught, sneaking around the place, and it's like you're paying the $410. Yeah, you get the toys. You get the experience in some aspects. But of course, some people are not going to see it that way. They see it as it being, I'm paying $410 for a box of toys. So, John, you made it back.
Yeah, the power was out for about 40 minutes there. It kind of sucked.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you're back. Man, I need you to bring some parts this year for a Bullet Man.
Oh, well, generally the class parts are only for people who take the class, unless I have extras. Hit me up when we get there this year. I'll bring the sign-in sheets from last year. As long as your name's on one, I'll go ahead and give you a set if you paid for it.
Yeah, I did. It's
just to be nice. I don't do that all the time.
It's the only thing I need is his arm. His damn arm broke off on mine.
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, that's all everything I need.
We had a few people that didn't show up for the class last year, even though that they paid, and they were all contacting me looking to get their stuff. I'm like, well, I'll go ahead and give you the set, I suppose, but you need to make that class if you sign up for it, because that's the club's policy. So
Yeah,
that's what I thought you were talking about. But yeah, no, I've got.
I was there. It was the first time I had a good time doing it and everything. But like I said, it was the end of the year 2016, and it was one of my top figures of 2016.
Oh God, I didn't know that. Thank you.
Yeah, so it was like we picked 16 toys that we purchased throughout 16, and mine was up there in the top 10 for that one. And it was the first time I've taken it out of the case since Joecon, and I moved the arm, and the damn thing snapped right off of the elbow. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
You get no. That's the thing when you're dealing with resin as opposed to factory plastics. Those two particular plastics, they're in the same family, and they have a tendency to want to stick to each other. So if you get a joint that doesn't move right away, just flash it with a hair dryer until it softens up just a little bit, and then turn it. Also, when you actually move it, take the arm, flip it up, and hold it on either side of the elbow pin and turn it there. Don't try to lever it by the long part of the arm because you'll snap it right off every time.
That's what happened to me. Yeah. And let me ask you a couple of questions since we got you on here. Now your part, you are doing the custom class again this year. Can you say if your figure relates to the current line they're giving us this year?
No, not at all.
So is this something? Do you get to choose on your own and they approve, or how's that work out?
That's pretty much how it works. I'll come up with an idea, and if it's something that is questionable as to whether it's going to get a sign off or not, we'll fly it by the club and make sure everything's all right. There's never been a problem up to this point, except with the chef. The gentleman who owns the original artwork that's been floating around the internet for about 10 years had no intention of sharing that with somebody. And he showed him the picture, and then they took it and spread it everywhere, and he was not happy about that. So he asked that we not do any, like header cards or anything with that artwork on it. So, which is a simple enough request to meet, change the packaging style that I'd originally planned on doing. Now it just comes in a bag with a fold over header card. So, this year's figure, I'm not going to tell you what it is or anything like that, not drop any serious hints. I'll say it's a 3-way crossover mashup, and the weapons that it comes with are inspired by a video game.
Ooh.
Yeah.
See, John, we were talking about this earlier. I said, one of my biggest frustrations is that I'm not a customizer. I know I'm not. And it's always sad for me because the custom fit class figures have been getting progressively more and more awesome each year, and it's like, damn it! I wish like some of those could make it into an FSS because
I've been helping the club off and on with the custom class since Atlanta in 2007. I did a seminar there that year, and then 2008 we did something, I don't remember exactly what, but it wasn't a class per se. Actually, 2008 was the first class I taught. It wasn't so much about customizing. You come into the class, and I was going to give you sculpting tools, materials, and some cast heads, and you learn how to sculpt hair and things like that. And then we actually made molds for those parts in the class, and I brought them back the next day, and everybody got a casting of their own cast head, the one they sculpted, and the mold that went with it. So that class by far was the best bargain in terms of learning anything.
That's awesome.
Well, the 6 people that showed up had a good time.
See, and that's the thing is, like for someone like me, I don't even like to paint stuff because I'm just like, I'm going to screw it up. But man, I got to say, the quality that I've seen come out of those custom classes and the reactions that I'm hearing, and I'm not just saying this because you're on here, because I said it when you were gone for a bit, like, you're making damn good stuff in there. Bullet Man kills me how awesome it is.
I love the Bullet Man.
What I was going to say is, when I first started doing this, like I said, in 2008, I spoke with Brian, and I said, well, the customizing classes and Transformers, they're getting Hasbro parts, and it would be cool if we could get something like that to augment what we're doing in the class. And it just wasn't feasible. Because of the scale of the Transformers classes were bigger. They were already running for 2 days at that point, so they were able to get more of the figures. It was just a recolor of a figure they were already building for the convention set that might have like an alternate head or something. So, and those Transformers related figures, except for the last year or two, have been wildly successful and very expensive on the secondary market. The classes sell out in like 2 minutes. Our class, when we were limited to 1 day, sold out really quick. Especially with the boss fight guys in 2014 here in Dallas for the chef figure, which they sold out sight unseen. They do that every year. Brian withholds what the class figure is going to be until everything's already done, they sold out pretty quick. This is the first year that they haven't sold completely out right away. I think there's still a few seats left on Wednesday, but those will be gone before it's over with.
Right.
We ended up on track to sell out.
Yeah, we ended up selling both days out last year, I believe, or within 1 or 2 people of it on the Wednesday class. The Wednesday class, it's an option for people that are going to travel to the con anyway to go ahead and take the class on Wednesday so they can do one of the other activities on Thursday. Not everybody's going to be able to take that extra day off and come in and take the class. So Thursday obviously sells out first. The class, the custom class figures, the last year that Boss Fight helped out in 2014 were very much more a collaborative effort. This is the last couple of years. It's just been me coming up with an idea and going with it. I like the Bullet Man, and they were kind of like Robo-Joe and Bullet Man were both customs that I was already working on. And I said, well, you know what, we're going to adapt them for the class and do them there, and so forth and so on. So it's worked out pretty well. The Robo-Joe figure was very well received. I was very happy with how everybody liked it. Of course, Bullet Man was a big hit last year.
I love Bullet Man.
It's a good looking figure. I was really happy with the way it turned out. People were, some of the purists were like, well, why is he smiling like that? And I was like, if you could fly and were halfway made of steel, you'd be smiling too, man.
I'd be loving life.
The chrome helmets that came with it, we didn't announce those ahead of time to help kind of sell things because I wasn't sure they were going to arrive in time. As it is, all the parts that I had chromed, every one of them has a flaw if you go back and nitpick it. That particular service, I don't know that I'll be using them again. I'm not going to name drop them or anything because I don't want to harm their business, but I wasn't pleased with the turnout. And I had some personal stuff that I sent with it too that I've been using this particular guy for 15 years and have not had a problem with it to this point. And this is a giant order and everything had flaws in it, every single solitary piece. So.
Hey, John, we got a question here for you.
Ask away.
A guy, he had asked, any chance that you will have a more instructional class rather than a customizing session with experts?
Well, we have usually 3 or 4 people on site who aren't, I usually set up the table fixing stuff that people screw up, helping with tips and tricks or, assembling stuff for people. And usually we have 3 or 4 people roaming around the classroom who are just my buddies that are helping out to help people walk through it. As far as being an instructional class, we expect you to have some small familiarity with customizing. I mean, the people that attend the class, especially on Thursday, you're not going to find a better group of guys who know more about what they're doing for the most part. So all you have to do is just turn to the guy next to you and say, hey, can you give me a little help here? Or just hold your hand up and say, hey, man, I need a hand. And somebody's going to come over and help you out. So don't be afraid of it.
Right. I know when last year was my first year doing the customizing class, and I had done multiple BotCon customizing classes, and I'm more familiar with it with Transformers than I am Joe. Mm-hmm. And I know I asked quite a few questions.
It's all right.
I mean, for the guy there, I got through the class in like 5 hours of a figure. Mm-hmm. In the accessories, that you offered, and so if I can do it, I can really do it.
I think all it takes is just a little bit of willingness to experiment and a willingness to get in there and put your hands on it. It's not. If you've built a model car, if you did Gundam models, if you've done anything remotely craft related, you should be able to customize a Joe figure, especially in the format we're giving you. We've already done all the fit and finish work on the torso and stuff like that. So it's all going to go together without a doubt. Where you might have to customize a little bit is when you pick your own set of arms, your own set of legs. The only reason we don't do that for the class figure is because the flex resin that the arms and legs are largely made out of takes 8 times longer to cure. And it has to be heat cured. And then it has to post cure after that for 2 hours. So you're talking 10 hours for each batch of parts. And I only make 6 or 10 copies at a time, depending on how many the gang mold is. So you're talking about a lot of extra time to prepare that. Unfortunately, I don't have it to spare, and I only get compensated so far. So I have to balance the two things. Like I said, the several years that we've done it, the first year, of course, was Chef. That was a torso, a head, 3 unique accessories, and the apron that were all the accessories and the apron were designed by Boss Fight, 3D printed, and I cast them. The torso was modified, and then I cast that. The head was modified. I threw the brain in there as a giggle. The shoulder harness that was modified had a pistol and let's see, a water slide decal that I had printed. The Robo Joe was the torso, the upper arms because they had unique spacing. 3 weapons, the head and the mask, and then Bullet Man was 2 helmets, 1 chrome, 1 not, the head, the torso, the water slide decal. What else did he come with? Oh, the 2 bats arms.
Everything but legs.
Yeah, everything but legs and arms. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that was easy for me to figure out.
Well, no, because the arms were included. I forgot because
it was everything but legs.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, we try to make these easy for somebody that has just the tiniest bit of experience.
Right.
And most Joe guys swap parts around. I mean, you see it prevalently with the Marauder Task Force stuff. People boil and popping parts. It's the same process. You warm up the flexible resin, you swap the arm or leg out, and there you go. You're done.
So have they published a list yet of what parts people need to bring this year?
No, not yet. I can't do that until Brian is ready to reveal what the figure name and design is.
So people will have to bring some extra bits of their own.
They'll have to bring arms and legs for the figure this year.
Cool.
Okay, so as far as
I'll say right now with regards to the legs, because they're a special fit, start digging up Resolute Destro legs.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to probably want those.
So as right now you have everything is lined out for the customizing class.
Oh yeah.
Except for the I guess the final stamp saying okay, we're good.
All of the prototyping is done. All the 3D sculpt and design is done. The 2 weapons, the head and the hat, are all original sculpts by my good friend and the guy that helps in the class, Kayla McKean, who posts under the name Gigabread. He's a self-taught digital sculptor, and he does the heads and stuff for us because I haven't had time to.
Oh, we cut out on us.
Yeah, John cut out for just a sec.
Oh man, John, you cut out. We can't hear you.
Oh no, it's John the silent film.
There we go. I think he's back. Nope.
I'll message him.
I wonder if he's hit his mute button.
Man, it was just getting good too.
It was, wasn't it?
Well, John's always good that way. I think he's just looking at the message I just sent him.
I wonder if he hit his mute button and his no sound. Oh shit.
Hang on, let me jump in. Yeah. See, folks, this is what happens in not live TV. Live internet. It's just like the days of radio where we flub and whoops.
Even if he types it out, I don't know if people will see it.
Yeah, well, listen, and we're almost running out of time anyway.
Yeah.
But I was just going to say, John, I don't know if you can hear me, but I just wanted to say I think it was awesome having you even on tonight. I've known John for a long time, and he can't hear us either. So
something went out on his side.
But John has always been really good as far as he would find these gaps in what Hasbro had done, and John would come up with these figure designs. Like he did the Budo as the Uncon figure. He did an Undertow years ago. He just has this amazing eye for parts. He still did a ROM the Space Knight that I wish I would have bought from him and never got around to because it's fantastic. So, but I think that, again, I just can't say enough. If you're going to Joecon, if you have any inclination and any confidence as a parts person, try to do the custom class. Yeah, I have attended it. Well, I just kind of sneaked in the back because I had a friend that was in there 1 year. And but even then, I look at the results that people have produced from this, and everybody is just loving what they've done. So custom class is always a high point, and if you're going, go.
Yeah, they're like
There
I
we
said,
go.
there's still a few seats left on Wednesday. So if you have even a remote interest, go ahead and jump in there. I think between the custom class and then being able to kind of hang out with everybody Wednesday night and not have anything to do except maybe package pickup, that's pretty cool. I mean, you don't get a better chance to socialize than that, because the rest of the weekend things are kind of moving real quick, and you got a lot of stuff to do.
And Thursday night's the line from hell.
Yeah, I was telling Fred earlier when I was talking.
Mhm.
Now, have you ever attended a BotCon, or you always done Joecon?
No, BotCon in Dallas, when it's here, I've gone. Yeah.
Now, maybe you can. Now, I personally, because I did a lot more BotCons and Joecons, but I felt
You
like
silly robot people.
but I felt that the people at Joecon are more genuine and more to get along with than the people at BotCon. What would you think?
I think honestly, and this is my honest personal opinion, I don't represent anybody with this. I think within every fan group there's going to be a certain number of cliques, but the Joecon group of people, it's the same 800 or 1,000 people every year, so we're used to seeing each other. Whereas with BotCon, it might be, I would assume it would shift around some depending on the part of the country. Now the Joecon, you get like the guys from New York City. It's the same group of guys every year. Gil Tucker sucks. I hope he hears that. It's the same bunch of guys every year. So we've not just developed relationships online, but also developed relationships in person. There's people that I get to see every year that I'm disappointed if I don't. Like Fred's had to miss a few, and that's kind of sucked. Because even though we don't necessarily get to hang out a whole lot at con, because I'm always busy, it's always nice to see a face, shake a hand, say, "Hey, man, how you doing?"
Right.
That kind of thing. So,
and that's what I look forward to every year, is seeing the people that I've met through the cons. I know a lot of people on HIS, they all, a lot of them are complaining that, oh, I'm paying so much money for this and that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're paying for the experience of the show, plus you're paying for, there's a lot to do there. You got to pay for more things. But I mean, this here, this is like I was telling Fred, this is the only time I get away from the family. I get to go out and hang out with friends and drink and golden ticket reception. I mean, I have a great time at Joecon.
I've been to several shows. I've worked as a vendor and gone for fun, and same thing with Joecon. At first I used to just set up and sell in the room and then go hang out all day on the show floor and stuff, and that was all good. But I enjoy, like I said, I enjoy going and just seeing some of these guys. I was really disappointed last year when it appeared that the club wasn't going to be hosting these anymore. I was like, this is the last time I'm going to see some of these guys, because there's not going to be an event where we can get together ever again. HasCon, who knows how that's going to turn out. Obviously, Joe is not going to be a featured player there. I know some of the guys up in that part of the country are going to go just because it's there and they want to check it out. But I personally can't travel to Rhode Island for a maybe.
Right. See, and that's more of they're focusing more towards children than anything else. So I fear
they should. I mean, as a company, they have to. There's so many guys in our community. I don't know about yours, but they gripe and complain. Well, Hasbro would make so much money if they did this, if they did that, if they did this, if they did that. And the truth is, Hasbro is doing what they need to do to keep the company and their stockholders happy. And we're an afterthought at best. And I don't mean that in any kind of derogatory way. We're a small, shrinking community who has managed to keep an IP that they own and created, so they're not licensing anything and don't have to make any money back off of it. They can shelf it for a while and it doesn't hurt them, So, the fans need to keep that in mind. They complain about club prices and club builds and all that kind of stuff. And I used to be right in the same boat with them. I was very critical, and I still am to an extent. But from a different point of view, I want to see the club succeed, and I want the club's figures to be the best thing out there for the money that we're paying. And I think that they're making, like I said at the top of the thing before I got cut out because the power went down. I think that they're making steps in the right direction, but it's a little late in the game, unfortunately. And I hope they continue to improve, and I hope they continue to take feedback. That's something that they've done in the last couple of years that they didn't necessarily do before. So, or to a large extent before, because it's very easy to be overwhelmed by the negativity.
Right.
I knew it was bad, just from my own personal dealings in the Joe community, but I didn't realize how bad until I ran my Kickstarter this last year. Some of the negative things and negative attitudes that are associated with action figure collectors will certainly ruin your day in a hurry.
On your Kickstarter, for people who don't know, tell us about your Kickstarter program you got going on.
Well, it's our company is Chicken Fried Toys. The line is called Dime Novel Legends. It's a 3.75 to 4 inch, so roughly 1/18 scale, fully posable Western action figure line.
All right.
We started out with 16 figures in the first series. We're actually going to be producing 11 of those from the Kickstarter. The other 5 will be pushed. They're not going to get dropped. What we're doing is we've taken both actual people and myths and legends and movies and everything else, and kind of mashed together to make an amalgam of Western archetypes and legends, hence the name Dime Novel Legends. I don't know if you're familiar with where that comes from, but pre-turn of the century, from 19th to 20th and on into the 20th century, the dime novels were kind of like comic books today. They were stories largely fanciful and farcical about personalities from the Old West. They had a tendency to embellish things a lot and all that. So the theme for the figures kind of fits in with that. They're historically pretty accurate, within about 80 to 85%, but they still have those little touches that we expect to see. We're not going to be doing any actor likenesses or anything directly from a movie. You're not going to see a Clint Eastwood or anything like that, John Wayne. We can't afford to license those likenesses out or those characters out, and that would be a convoluted mess to begin with, trying to walk through Hollywood and work that out. So like I said, we're doing things that are more archetypical, more, when you think of a sheriff in the Old West, you think of a certain way he looks or, the way he dresses and that kind of thing. And that's kind of what our figures are supposed to represent. The Kickstarter was a pretty big success. Very pleased with it. Very happy to have that many people want to support our line and want to be a part of it. Where we're at in the process right now with it is the money for tooling has been in China since before the end of the year last year. That the tooling is all completely paid for, and we're tooling all the parts for all 16 figures. So even though we're not going to make the last 5 because we don't have the money to pay for the production run, the tooling's already done. So once we have the money for the production run, those figures will be made available ASAP. We expect to have some product test shots and things like that ready to show at Joecon this year. They'll be odd colored, most likely, won't have final paint or anything like that, but we'll have some factory samples to display. We're hoping, if everything stays on schedule, to have product arriving late December this year. It may flip over into 2018 by a month, but it all depends on how things work out over the next 10 months or so. Right. But our goal is still on target as far as we know, as far as our factory liaison has said. We're still on target. It's going to be tight, but we're still on target. Once we start getting samples back, we'll start showing them to everybody. You can see what they look like actual physically. I got a couple of resin hard copies done during the Kickstarter and got those put up so people could see. And those are very representative of what the actual figures are going to look like. So we're already starting work on horses, on the sculpts and stuff. Our sculptor Dennis is going to be starting on those in about 14 days. We're gathered resource material. Our horse is going to be, it's going to be something you can use for a lot of different lines. That's not why we're making it, but that's how it's going to end up being. The horse is going to be larger than a Mustang, smaller than a draft horse. So it's kind of going to have to be one size fits all, but it will be big enough for the figures and everything. It's going to be bigger than the Indiana Jones horse, if that gives you an idea, because the Indiana Jones horse is a little tiny. Yeah. We're doing 3 different sets of tack. That's the bridle and the saddles and stuff. There'll be a military style because it's very distinct, and then there'll be a regular Western style, which will be what most people will want to use, and then there'll be a Native American style, which will be saddle blanket and a rope bridle and things like that. So as far as paint patterns, every horse paint pattern you can think of will eventually get through. We're going to start off with probably 4 or 6 and then go from there. Since we're having the horses tooled, when we're ready to move on to the stagecoach, since it didn't fund in the Kickstarter, the stagecoach will have fully articulated horses now.
Wow.
Well, we were trying to explain to people that the tooling for the stagecoach during the Kickstarter, I had several discussions about this, that the tooling for the stagecoach itself was so expensive that the only way we could put horses with it was for them to be static, except for maybe a joint in the head. Some people liked it, some people didn't. Truthfully, if you're a collector, you're probably going to have the figures on the horses, and the horses on the stage don't need to articulate or pose, but it worked out so that we're going to have articulated horses. So the designs for Series 2, we've already got a lot of stuff laid out. There's 16 to 18 figures in Series 2 planned right now. We've actually got 4 complete series, almost 5, of about the same number of figures planned. We're going to touch on all of the things that you want to see. Series 2 will have 3 female figures. It will also have at least 3 Native Americans from the Dakota Sioux tribe. So that's very much going to represent what people expect to see from television, movies, and stuff like that, but will also still be historically accurate to fit in with what we've planned for the line. There'll be at least 3 more gunfighters. Some you'll recognize that they're inspired by this or that, and some that are kind of just builds out of stuff that we've got and mix and match parts. There will be some cavalry guys. My business partner Paul is a huge fan of the cavalry, so he's going to handle all those builds all by himself, and we'll see how that shakes out, which I'm sure will be fine. In the cavalry stuff, we're for sure going to have at least 1 buffalo soldier. With the Native American tribes and with the buffalo soldier, we're going to approach the societies and tribal councils and ask them to sign off on the design as being authentic. So there'll be a little blurb on the card back that talks about that. That's very important to he and I both personally, that these not be some glamorization or something that's wildly inaccurate.
Right.
I think it's just a matter of respect, if nothing else.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. There's a couple of exclusive small vehicles that are going to be available in Series 2. The reason this whole line came about was we bought the prototypes several years ago from a toy line that was shown in 2001 at Toy Fair called the Dusty Trails lineup. And they were much less articulated figures, but they had a stagecoach with a couple of horses, had 4 or 5 guys, also had a cannon and a Gatling gun. So we're going to do the cannon, and it'll come with a cavalry trooper, and that will be our website exclusive. And then there'll be a Gatling gun that also comes with a cavalry trooper, and that will be the exclusive for our partner, smalljoes.com. So you'll be able to get a couple of exclusive pieces here and there to go with it. Those, of course, like I said, will have pack-in cavalry guys. Actually, the plan is right now for the Small Joe's piece to actually have Corey's head on it. I don't know what that's going to mean everybody's going to do with it, but the head sculpts on a lot of these guys are from people in the community. I'm on a couple of the figures with different facial hair and stuff. Paul's on a couple of the figures the same way. Marauder Ruben is a good friend of mine. He's going to be on one of the mariachis in Series 2. Columinati Rogelio Casas is the head sculpt for the Prospector and the Vaquero. And will probably be used somewhere else with different hairstyle and stuff. So we're trying to gather people we know in the community and make them part of the lineup. Obviously, you're not getting paid, but you will get a free figure.
At least you get your head on a figure, man. That's pretty cool. Kind of like
well, it's nice. It's nice to be immortalized in plastic. I think it's very cool. And it's an opportunity not everybody's going to get, unfortunately. But we will try to get around to people who've been in the community a long time and have made contributions. And there may or may not be a Justin Bell at some point. Maybe the town drunk or something like that.
Right. Kind of like Terry with the Fun Pub Club.
Yes.
You got that ozone kid.
Yeah, well, if you ask Terry, he'll tell you that's not him.
Yep.
Contractually obligated. So but there've been several figures in the con sets that were modeled after people who were helped with the club or, you know, worked with Hasbro at one point and things like that. So I'm not going to go off and name them all because I don't necessarily know that they want to be known, but there are more than a few. That's kind of a historical thing with G.I. Joe. You know, the people that worked on the line have been immortalized in it in some way. So,
all right, cool. Well, man, we're going to call a night there.
Sure,
we're
yeah,
already over 2 hours, and we would love to have you on again when everything's working okay on your
I'll
end.
be happy to. I'll be happy to.
And Fred's already dropped out, so
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and sign out at the end of the show. You can find me on Twitter as BlackHawkFan1978 and catch me next week on the G1 Hexagon channel for Cybercast at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I believe there will not be a Galactic Gumbo, but we will have a second Cybercast on Sunday, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time to review everything that comes out of Toy Fair. So until next time.
Yay, Toy Fair.
Yeah. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks a lot.
Have a good night, man.